Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Morning Cuppa with Shannon. Today, I've got one of my Canada mugs that my kids and I bought at the airport in Canada on our way back here on one of our visits to Canada. As most of you know, I live in Australia, but I do like to go back to Canada to visit my family there and spend time in nature in Canada. My goodness, if you haven't been in the forest in Canada, get there. It is so magical, so healing, so magical and healing. So I love it. And it's much easier to be in the forest in Canada than it is in the forest in Australia because of all the snakes and spiders here and everything else that can kill you. It's not impossible. We still do it. We still go in the forest and we still go in the bush here, but I just find it a lot less risk of getting a snake bite or spider bites in Canada. Scorpion bites, all that. So anyway, what is in my cuppa this morning? It is Tulsi tea, also known as holy basil, which is an amazing herb. And when I first learned about it in herbal medicine, my professor he described it as if you take holy basil, you're going to feel all right. You're going to feel all right when you take holy basil, basically, because it is an adaptogen. And what an adaptogen is, so there is a bit of a misconception out there on the internet about what an adaptogen is. There are so many people talking about herbal medicine nowadays on Instagram and social media. Everyone is apparently a herbal specialist nowadays, which, I can't help but roll my eyes at some of the misinformation or some of the posts that I see on Instagram. Not to put anyone down, but people will just be like, oh, this herb is good for this, and then they'll make a social media post about it without actually understanding the reasoning behind it of why a herb is actually good for you. And what I'm talking about is the nutrients and the phytochemicals that are in the actual plant that are doing that sort of action and causing that sort of action to occur in the body. An adaptogen, a lot of people think that an adaptogen is just like it adapts to, I've seen this definition on social media of those herbal warriors out there who think that they know what it means, what it doesn't. They think that herbal adaptogens, that the word means basically that it adapts to what you're going through. And I don't really know, but the real definition of an adaptogen, it has to do with your adrenal glands and stress. And it's basically to help you adapt to stress. So adaptogen, a keyword you can remember, I use to remember what it's good for, is adaptogen, adapt to stress. And it's because it helps your adrenal glands, helps to regulate your adrenal glands to help regulate your body to adapt to stress. And another thing that my professor taught us about adaptogens in general is that, he reckons that most people over the age of 30 could be taking an adaptogen of some sort because life is stressful. Everybody has to deal with some sort of stress in their life. Some people more than others, but life is stressful. If you're part of the rat race, your life is definitely stressful because the rat race is stress. It's stressful. So everyone has a level of stress that they have to deal with in their life. So a good tea to drink, a good herbal tea to drink, if you do deal with stress, is Tulsi, that is actually the Ayurvedic name, the Hindi name for the plant. It's also known as holy basil. as well. So the plant traditionally was used by both Indians in India, as an Ayurvedic herb, but also it's been used throughout history traditionally in most, maybe not most, but a lot of different religious areas, including Christianity, Catholicism, and other religious sects as well. It is known as it's known to be really make you relaxed. So it's an adaptogen is one of the effects, but it's also good for many other things. I've made some notes because I can't memorize every single herb. I have memorized a lot of herbs, but most of the herbs actually that I learn about are good for so many different things. But there's always little things that stand out for each herb that they're really known for. So an adaptogen is one of them for the holy basil. It's going to make you feel relaxed. And I'm also taking a herbal mixture over the next couple of weeks that includes holy basil in it as well. So the one I'm taking at the moment has chaste tree, lady's mantle, shepherd's purse, nettle leaf, and holy basil. And of course, those are the common names, but in university, I have to learn all of the Latin names to all the herbs and memorize them that way. So I do know many herbs, actually, I know by their Latin name and don't even know their English name because I've had to learn them all with their Latin name. For all my exams and everything, they have to be in their Latin name. And the reason for that is because you can get two common names that are exactly the same name. Like marigold, for instance, is one of them. There's many different types of marigold plants, including what is it? I just made some oil with it. Including a marigold plant that is calendula. Calendula is the Latin name. The common name is a type of marigold, and it has, what is it called? It is a type of marigold, and it's got the word Mary in it, and there are different marigold plants, and it is kind of like marigold, but it's calendula. I forget the common name already, but it's got the word Mary in it, the reason for that is because calendula is a little bit different to other marigolds, for instance. And so they do have different properties and what they're good for. And the plants do slightly look a little bit different. The petals look different on the flower and that sort of thing. They very easily can be mistaken for one another. Both sort of types of calendula or types of marigolds, but still different, but can end up with the same name. Calendula can also be called marigold sometimes as well. And so the Latin name is important for not mixing up the plants and what they're actually good for. And you'll find too that a lot of plants, like marigold, were named that in their common name due to what they were named after. So marigold and calendula were both named after, in their common English name, after Mary, Mother Mary. And so, or Mary Magdalene. I think it was Mother Mary, but another one is St. John's wort, which was named after St. John in the Bible. There's a bunch of them. But holy basil used to be planted around a lot of monasteries, a lot of churches, and things like that, and was considered a very, very holy plant, and hence why it is got the common name in English and in Christianity as holy basil. And a lot of people know it as Tulsi. That is the Hindi name that it's called, the Ayurvedic Indian name for it. But yum. So I'm drinking a Tulsi tea with a little bit of raw honey. I like to put a little bit of raw honey in my teas sometimes. Raw honey is also super good for you. Antimicrobial, Has a lot of things about it. And it's the color gold. It's got that golden color for a reason because it's very healing as well. So Tulsi tea, I'll just read this little bit for you about it. It is, oh yeah, I just want to finish about that adaptogen thing. It has to do with our stress response. So we have our adrenal glands, which sit sort of on top of our kidneys, and they are a type of gland that we have in our body that releases our stress hormones. If we're in the fight or flight mode, if you're in a situation where you're dealing with a lot of fight or flight in your life, your body's going to have that constant release of cortisol hormones that also just constantly get excreted from your adrenal glands. And if you are someone who deals with constant stress on a daily basis, and even if you get a little bit of a reprieve from that, and then you deal with more stress and more stress on a continuing basis, it's going to deplete your adrenals. Your adrenal glands are going to be depleted and not function properly. And that's what's happened with me. I suspected it, and I got a blood test done at the doctor, which, by the way, the doctor did not mention about it, but because I am studying naturopathy, I'm able to get a blood test done at an allopathic doctor, which is allopathic is basically referring to doctors like mainstream doctors that go to med school who do a government based degree, which, you know, they all are, including the naturopathy degree that I'm doing as well. So it's important to use discernment in whatever you're learning. But naturopathy is a bit different because it's alternative medicine. And so they also like steer from allopathic medicine. They respect allopathic medicine, but you continually learn the difference between allopathic medicine and natural medicine and the differences. And really our job as naturopaths is to really get down to the root cause of what's causing the issues, the health issues. And so oftentimes we go to an allopathic doctor, mainstream doctor, we get blood tests, they tell you it's normal. Again, confusing that word normal with the word common. And they don't tell you everything that's going on in your blood test. So I actually recommend that if you do get a blood test at a doctor, that you take it home. And you can find answers on the internet to everything. Like, you don't need to take a degree and pay $100,000+ like $100,000+ like I am to take a degree to learn this stuff. And that's another reason why I'm sharing stuff on my channel, is so that you don't have to spend that $100,000 on a degree like I am. And it's also about empowering people to take your own health into your own hands. And my health is far from perfect, but nobody's health is perfect. And I need to practice what I preach more often than I do. And sometimes I'm really good at practicing what I preach and I feel good. And sometimes I fall off the bandwagon depending on different things that are happening in my life. I do. And lots of people do. And it's really hard to stay consistent sometimes when you've got all this added stress in your life that from outside sources and other things, and it really affects you when you're trying to study and do other things. So yeah, so what was I going to say? So I had a blood test done, and I was able to go over my bloods because of learning about this stuff in naturopathy, but also by looking stuff up on the internet. And I could see that my adrenals in my blood tests were depleted. Did the doctor tell me about that? No, he didn't. And there was a bunch of other things, not a bunch, but a few other things on my blood test that he didn't tell me about, that I know how to fix and can fix myself now with all the information that I've learned as a naturopath. Sorry about that. I had to stop the video just for a sec because my boys are being really loud in the background, and I can't blame them. They're playing a game together and they're trying to be quiet, but they're being a little bit loud. So anyway, so if you get a blood test at the doctor, I encourage you to go and try and look at it yourself, because sometimes the normal ranges aren't always normal. And who decides what is a normal range for blood tests isn't always accurate and isn't always the normal range that other practitioners go by. So it's very important to have health professionals that you trust and who can get to the bottom of it, who don't tell you things are normal when they're not, just because they're common and that sort of thing. So anyway, the adaptogens, they help give you support with your adrenal glands. They really help to regulate your stress, help you adapt to stress and all that and whatnot. So other things that Tulsi or holy basil are good for is the whole list here. So it's a potent adaptogen, what we just spoke about. It's also recommended to take over a long period of time. So it's important to note that there is no quick fix. Well, there is sometimes a quick fixes for things, but for things like adrenal fatigue, stress, things like that, there are some herbs that are slower to take effect. Some herbs can take about 6 to 8 weeks to actually to take effect, and it's because a lot of these processes in our body can't be fixed overnight. Like iron, if you're really low in iron, it's going to take you a period of time, like months, to possibly get your iron stores back up to normal. And it's going to take you, time to do that. And so that's the same with things like taking an adaptogen. You start to kind of notice a big difference, hopefully after the 6 or 8 week mark. So that's important to know, because if you want to take something and you're expecting it to be fixed in 24 hours, it's not always that way. But then, of course, there are herbs as well for acute conditions, like if we are sick with a cold or bacterial infection or something like that, then there are some herbs for acute conditions that can actually act quite quickly to help you. Like echinacea, for instance, if you take echinacea when you have a flu or a cold, it's going to, on average, they say that supposedly it can reduce your cold that you have or sickness, reduce the longevity of your sickness for a day. So you might be better a day earlier by taking that. You can also take that. It's a very safe drug. You can also take it. It helps to build your white blood cells and your immunity. So if your immunity is a little bit low, you can take echinacea. It's an excellent herb for children and elderly as well. It's a very safe herb. But in saying that, always check before you take herbs with a health professional before you take them, because some herbs are contraindicated and can't be taken for certain things like pregnancy, high blood pressure. With some herbs can't be taken with medications like warfarin, blood thinners, and things like that. So as much as I think it's really good that there's a lot of posts out there on, say, Instagram, and people who haven't even studied herbal medicine are on there, saying, oh, take this herb, it's good for that, it's good for that. It's like, okay, yeah, it is good for that. That's true. But you don't, for someone to make a post like that, it's great. But just keep in mind that there are contraindications to some of these herbs as well, and certain herbs are not recommended. So, for instance, we're on the topic of adaptogens. An adaptogen that I really love is astragalus, so I take that, and it is one of my favorite all-around herbs. It's the number one Chinese medicine herb that they use for kidney health. It's so good for so many things. Like, it's good for high blood pressure. It's good. It can help lower high blood pressure. Again, you want to take it. You want to take it over a period of time. So this isn't just like a 24-hour quick fix. You're going to take astragalus, also known to some people as astragalus, which I found was funny. I was having a Zoom chat with this doctor from California a few months ago, and I told him about that I was taking astragalus, that I love that herb, and he was like, "You mean astragalus?" And I was like, I just laughed because it was funny, and because over here we call it astragalus, and that's what I got taught to call it. But obviously, some people call it's like potato, tomato. Some people call naturopathy, and then some of my teachers call it naturopathy. So it's like, yeah, potato. Anyway, so astragalus is an amazing adaptogen as well. It's really good herb for kidney health, for high blood pressure, for so many different things. And another one that's similar to that is Siberian ginseng. So Siberian ginseng was used by athletes, Olympic athletes. I think the Russians, because it's called Siberian ginseng, were one of the first Olympic athletes to take it, and it really helped to enhance their performance. It gives you energy, that sort of thing. It's also an adaptogen as well. But as an example, if you have high blood pressure, Siberian ginseng is contraindicated for people who have high blood pressure. So you could take, but astragalus isn't. It's actually good for people who have high blood pressure, and it's going to help to lower that for you. So as much as I think that it's wonderful that everyone is like sharing all these like natural remedies and herbal herbs and everything on Instagram and different things like that, and on social media, just make sure that you look into the herbs first before you take them in a tincture form and things like that, because the tincture forms are very potent forms of that herb. It's not like just eating the plant. For instance, I've been eating a lot of parsley out of my garden lately, putting it in salads. It's high in minerals. It's got iron in it. I've been taking it for the taste, but also for the therapeutic effects, the nutritional effects of the parsley. But if you make that into a tincture, it's going to be obviously way stronger, more potent than if you were to I just been clipping the leaves out of my garden and putting them in my salad and putting them in my cooking. And tea as well, is less potent than a herbal tincture of holy basil. So I've got a tea of the holy basil here, but the form of holy basil that I have in my tincture that I'm taking is obviously a lot more potent. Tulsi is, it says here that it's recommended to be taken over long periods to prevent and treat diseases such as anxiety, cough, asthma, malaria, fever, diarrhea, dysentery, arthritis, eye diseases, altagia, indigestion, hiccups, vomiting, gastropathy, cardiopathy. It's a genitourinary disorders. I can't say that very well. Lumbago, skin diseases, leukoderma, ringworm, insect. Okay, here's the interesting part. So many herbs, okay, are the traditionally used as anti-venoms. Okay, I just think that's so interesting because holy basil is insect, snake, and scorpion bites. and verminosis. So that has been one of the most interesting things that I've learned about learning herbal medicine in university, is learning about that, because, um, you know, obviously snake bites are a thing here in Australia. We have tons of poisonous snakes, and the most poisonous snakes here in the world. And I just find that so interesting that they've been using herbs as antivenoms and antidotes for certain things traditionally. And then here in hospitals and things, they're using antivenoms that they have made. I'm pretty sure they make some of them with, like, I could be wrong, but this is what I've heard, is like so they have snake places here in Australia, obviously, and they have, they take the venom from the snakes to make the antivenoms. But I think some of the antivenoms also include either DNA or something from horses or other animals that have been bitten by snakes. I forget the process on how they make it, but, it's just interesting that, we have the pharmaceutical industries and the natural health, and during a period of time, probably, it's not very common to know about different herbs that are used as antidotes and used for snake bites, poisonous snake bites and things like that, right? So it's there's so many in this book, by the way, of herbs that I've learned. Anyway, I'm reading from a book by Leslie Braun and Mark Cohen. It's Herbs and Natural Supplements. It's one of the books that we use in herbal medicine that we learn our herbs from. So other things that it's good for, it tells you like the dosage and everything. So it's an adaptogenic, anti-fatigue, anti-stress, antidepressant, anxiolytic, I can't say that word, but basically good for anxiety. Anti-fatigue obviously is, for fatigueness, tiredness, people who are dealing with, chronic fatigue and things like that. It's an anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and get this, it's a reducing agent for nanoparticle processing. There's also quite a few herbs that I've learned about that help with nanoparticles. But the funny thing is the whole thing about nanoparticles, well, that was supposed to be a conspiracy theory, wasn't it? Well, since I've been learning herbal medicine in university, I have come to learn that it actually isn't a conspiracy theory at all. That lots of studies have been shown about different herbs and how they can help the body to process and get rid of nanoparticles in the body. And yet, we were all called tinfoil hat wearers for sharing information about nanoparticles during a certain pandemic that was that took place from 2020 onwards. It's cancer protective, HEPA protective, which is protective of the liver, radiation protective. It helps with heavy metal toxicity. It's an anti-diabetic, antibacterial, antimicrobial, which means pretty much the same thing. It's lipid lowering, so it helps the body to lower the lipids, which is another word for fats, in the body. It's anti-malarial, anti-parasitic, antiviral, and will help to enhance your immune system. Other actions it includes is a diuretic, aphrodisiac, antihypotensive, anticoagulant, antipyretic, yeah, so those are just some of them. There's more. It helps with allergies and has some anti-asthmatic activity. Its anti-inflammatory properties can help with arthritis, wound healing, heart disease, stroke, cataracts. It can be used as a mouthwash. Um, what else? There's so many things. And actually, most of the herbs that I learn about have um, so many uses for the plants. And so this is another reason why when I hear garbage online that says like of people that saying, "Oh, you shouldn't eat plants included in your diet. Humans weren't meant to eat plants." I just like roll my eyes. Like it's so incredible the phytochemicals and nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and especially the phytochemicals that are contained within the plants that all there's so many different phytochemicals contained within the plants. A common one that's pretty common that a lot of people know is like flavonoids, you know, but there's so many different ones and they all have a different mechanism of action of what they do in the body to help with each certain type of disease. And nobody can tell me after everything I've learned about the different plants that humans were not meant to eat plants. I just roll my eyes at people who think that we weren't meant to eat plants. And for those who are Christian as well, it mentions it in the Bible about the plants as well. And it's to me, it's proof. It's just another little piece of the puzzle of proof of how God just made the world so perfect. He just made everything so perfect. He made the human body perfect. How the human body functions is just so amazing. It's so amazing. And how plants function, animals, nature, the trees, everything, butterflies, birds, the bees, honey, like how honey's made. It's perfect. God made all of it perfect. And when you start to learn about nature, like really learn about it and learn about the plants, it's to me, it's just proof of how amazing our God is and how perfectly He made the plants for us. For us. Because every herb is like this. Every herb, and I'm saying herb, but really I should just be saying plant because we put herbs in a different category to other plants, but really it's just plants in general. Um, they're not really, we don't need to even call them herbs. We can just call them plants. Like it's the parsley. So the parsley example is one of them. It's like, okay, when we put it on our food, it's called a spice, but when we put it in a tincture, it's called a herb, but it is a herb as well, but we call it a spice. It's also a plant, whereas cranberries, that's another one. It's like cranberries is a fruit, but we also consider it a herbal medicine because it can be used to help prevent urinary tract infections. And it does so by its anti-adherent properties that it has, where so what it does, it's got these anti-adherent properties that, so actually UTIs are mostly caused, they could be caused by other bacteria as well, but most UTIs are caused by, the most common one is E. coli. And so what the cranberry does, it has to be taken in high dose, of course. It helps prevent the E. coli or other bacteria from adhering to your tissue cells because those bacteria like to basically like cling on to our tissue cells. And so it kind of like acts almost like a demulcent, like an anti-adherent so that these antibacterial, so that these E. coli or other bacteria cells don't attach onto our tissues, and therefore our body is able to help eliminate the E. coli or the other bacteria causing the UTIs to be eliminated from our body. So that's a fruit, but we also consider that a herbal medicine, So I'm waffling. I really am. This whole conversation has basically been about Tulsi tea. And I'm going to be having other drinks that I will be able to share with you guys as well. And it all kind of ties into the channel, the Wise Healer channel, and how that channel is going to be used as a business to kind of like tie everything together with different stuff that I've been learning about. So not all of these talks are going to be about herbal medicine or about different health topics. A lot of the talks are going to be just about anything really, anything that's on my mind and what I've been thinking about, stuff I've been going through, learning about, not just with physical health, but emotional stuff as well. So yeah. Anyway, I might leave it there for today. I didn't mean for this whole episode to be about holy basil and herbal medicine, but it has, and that's okay. I've got more topics to talk about in my next ones. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you later.